What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
The Volvo S80 is the first car on the new Volvo P2 platform of Sweden's own design. The roots of the solutions can be seen in the Volvo ECC concept back in the early 90s, and Peter Hoberry's design became a trademark of the brand for a long time, replacing the suitcase look. By the way, the S60 was made a little earlier, but the design had to be stretched on a larger flagship model, which was released first. With the release of the S80 was in a hurry, so the new platform was temporarily put the old units, and 2 years after the launch, the equipment was seriously updated. The P2 platform is unique in its own way. For 1998, it is a very advanced solution, both in terms of modularity and the design of its individual elements. The degree of scaling allowed to create on it and a very large crossover XC90 and relatively compact S60 to get variants with front and all-wheel drive, with 5-, 6, and 8-cylinder engines under the hood. There is a very successful climate system and developed electronics, which allowed to keep the cars relevant for a very long time. And not bad suspensions, McPherson in front and multi-lever at the rear. In terms of passive safety, Volvo, as usual, was on top of its game. In this generation, the cars received a more advanced side impact protection system, a very powerful cabin cage, a set of airbags, with curtain airbags and a hamstring airbag, and with multi-stage deployment, as well as seats that protect the neck in rear impacts, and many small interior improvements to improve injury safety. The body has shown excellent results in crash tests. The Swedes tested cars on a very wide program, including falling on the roof, and impacts with a particularly small overlap, which will become fashionable only in 15 years. Although the next-generation Volvo S80 shared the EUCD platform with the Ford Mondeo, the P2 platform went nowhere. It was later modernized in terms of electronics, renamed D3 and produced full-size sedans and crossovers on it in the U.S. until 2019. We are well-known Explorer V on this bogie. Their even suspension arms are extremely similar to parts from S80, not to mention the power structure of the body. The S80 I is strictly a sedan. The body is all steel except for the hood. 5- and 6-cylinder motors are located in front transversely, and 6s managed to put so only in combination with 4-speed automatic transmission GM, which has a very interesting layout. Nominally, the arrangement of units is row and line, but in fact, the whole automatic transmission is located behind the engine, which reduces the length of the power module, allowing to place it across. The 5-cylinder cars have more traditional Aisin gearbox and automatic transmission. There are no tricks with the layout. Most cars have front drive, but the version with 2.5T after restyling has a full drive with a third-generation Haldex clutch. What is interesting, the body of all-wheel drive versions does not differ, only some elements of the rear suspension and the tank. All engines, except for the diesel 2.5 before restyling, Volvo's own development from the modular engine series of the first and second generations. The 2.5 diesel was taken from commercial VWs, but after 2001 they too were replaced with in-house developed engines. Timeline: August 1998. Sales of the model began. Engines are 6-cylinder 2 8T200 and 72 horsepower and 2 9,204 horsepower with 4-speed automatic GM, or 5-cylinder 2 0T100 and 63 horsepower with 5-speed automatic transmission. Body styles are sedan only. February 1999. Simpler versions with an atmospheric 2.4-litre engine in 140 and 170 horsepower versions, and with a turbo diesel 2.5D 140 horsepower engine appear. All motors can be equipped with an automatic transmission or 4-speed automatic transmission Aisin. February-March 2000. Upgrade of the automatic transmission for all cars with 5-cylinder engines, except the diesel. Instead of the 4-speed automatic transmission, a 5-speed was put in place. Appearance of supercharged motor 2, 4T200 horsepower. All motors have been updated. They meet the -3 Euro standard. There are changes in power, attachments, etc. The 2.0T version received 180 horsepower. The 2.9 motor in the new version develops 196 horsepower. The 2.8T6 motor with the same power received. A different size of the piston group and volume. November 2001. Appearance of diesel engine of own development. It replaces the Volkswagen 2.5D with two versions, 2.4D 130 horsepower and D5 with 163 horsepower. The older motor is combined with both an automatic transmission and an Aisin 5-speed automatic transmission. March 2003. Restyling of the model. Cosmetic changes of the body, including new headlights, mirrors, radiator grille. Interior changes. Replacement of 2.4T engine with more powerful 2.5T 200 and 10 horsepower, as well as the refusal of 2.0T engines. Appearance of all-wheel drive modification with 2.5T engine. Spring 2006. Appearance of the second generation S80. The first generation was discontinued. Body. Exterior panels. Volvo cars are traditionally considered stainless. But I have bad news for you. Time spares no one, and it's very easy to find a rusty S80. And it doesn't have to be a first production car. Even on 2006 models, corrosion is easy to find if you know where to look. Damage is usually not conspicuous. But it is worth examining carefully the rear arches, the upper edge of the windshield, sometimes the edge of the trunk lid. Small corrosion is often there. In more recent cars may still have native paint and a minimum of chips, and in pre-restyling, repair paint or fringe. The junction of the fender and the windshield frame lining is also worth examining carefully. Rust can be found under the molding. Look at the door frames. There is the same trouble as on the S60. It's not very noticeable, but it's difficult to fix. It's easier to change the door. In general, even from the outside, the inspection should be carried out carefully. Many cars were poorly maintained, and repainting with stripping of paint together with zinc often leads to the fact that in 5 years instead of spot defects the whole arches corrode. Especially it is characteristic for pre-restyling, because in cars before 2003 the paint burned out strongly in the sun, and they were repainted entirely for cosmetic purposes. At the same time, the painters collected all the mistakes they could. It is definitely worth opening the doors and taking a closer look at the sill plates. Most cars have bubbling paint at the junction of the arch and the plastic lining at the rear. This means that the sill is rusting inside. Sometimes the front door openings at the bottom of the doors show signs of similar distress. And the lower edge of the front fender, if you look carefully, also often has already started to rust. The degree of damage to the sills can be established only by cutting off the outer layer of metal, but since dirt can accumulate under the plastic cover for years, and it is unrealistic to wash without disassembly, many owners have corrosion of the sills in a neglected stage, when not only the outer sill has corroded, but both reinforcements inside, especially in the rear. Given that on a Volvo the parts are complexly shaped and welded to each other at many points, it is very difficult to restore everything qualitatively. Visible corrosion of the side doors is already being caught, and that's not a good sign. As a rule, cars with visible rust have long since had no sills. From the bottom in cars before restyling, the general condition is mostly bearable. There is a lot of surface rust in the rear arches. If they are not regularly anti-corroded, there is no serious damage on the underbody. But in the area of the gas tank and trunk floor, corrosion is already attacking the seams and brackets, left without mastic protection. However, the brackets and sheet metal elements are made of rather thick steel, and the load-bearing elements of the body are made of even thicker steel. Seams are covered with a good layer of sealant. In most cases it is still intact. Through corrosion in the rear arches and under the trunk floor is mainly found in places where dirt accumulates. The really problematic elements are the aforementioned sills and front suspension cups. The condition of the sill can be assessed only by removing the plastic cover. But corrosion at the upper attachment points is noticeable if you bend or remove the decorative lining of the openings. There is usually rust in the places of recesses under the fasteners. Depending on the operating conditions, the damage can be minor or already a serious problem. But the main trouble is inside the sill and underneath. Dirt between plastic and metal is washed out very poorly, provoking corrosion. There are still mud pockets in the arches behind the lockers, and if in the front arch it does not hurt much, then in the rear the place is much more vulnerable. Through corrosion of the inner arch into the sill or the sill itself from the bottom under the plastic cover is a regular occurrence. It is possible to find a car without this problem, but it is difficult. By the way, the problem does not correlate with the external state of paintwork in almost any way. Excellent-looking cars may have through holes in the rear part of the sill above the plastic level. And cars before restyling have absolutely intact sills with the general burned out and sad external state of paintwork. Under the hood, the problem is more serious than with the sills. Even in the best-looking car of the last years of production, you can find corrosion and even holes on the suspension cups and engine compartment mudguard. In the risk zone are mainly the first years after the restyling. 2003 to 2004 years have rust through or traces of treatment, and earlier. And later cars can show normal arches without traces of damage both outside and inside. The problem area is the junction of the cup with the upper body spar and with the front mudguard of the engine compartment. It is unlikely to be possible to fix the trouble without drilling out the whole cup, so look carefully at the spot welds, remove the expansion tank and check the body under it. From the left side to remove the switching block of the engine will not work, but it is worth shining a flashlight. Any traces of rust are serious. Corrosion from inside the cup, under the fender, at the junction with the locker, not so terrible, but if the seam sealant has come off, it also promises big repairs. On the suspension cup's thick metal, on restyling and double layer, and if there is already corrosion, then cleaning and painting you will not remove it. There are enthusiasts who drill out all the damaged elements and change the cup with the upper spar to donor, but any patches. It's all a temporary solution. Well, a large-scale repair near the panel with the VIN number can promise a lot of adventures with the examination in the traffic police. In general, if the car has cup corrosion, you should not take it. In any case, you will not have a long and happy life with it. Additional attention should be paid to the overmotor niche. This is where the drainage channel valves get clogged and water starts to accumulate over time. The trouble is that just above it is the seal of the SEM unit, the central current distributing hub in cars on the P2 platform. Over time, the gland loses its tightness and starts leaking directly onto the unit in the cabin. Water can also come from the wiring box, which here is located on top of the engine shield, and water from the windshield and through. The deflector plate flows directly into it. There it damages the wiring over time. Insulation is not eternal, and at the same time finds its way into the cabin. So experienced owners fill the box with silicone grease, drains are cleaned, valves are removed, and the wiring gland try to change or lubricate regularly. In general, water in the cabin is a fairly common story. In addition to leaks, the reason may be the drainage of air conditioner. It may be clogged with time, and water will flow into the cabin. Well and heater leaks happen to everyone. The sealing rings let down, and the radiator itself may leak. It corrodes rather quickly here, if antifreeze is not changed. It is good that floors dry well. Under a carpet a big space is occupied by tubes of ventilation system, and corrosion of floors on S80 is rare. But you should check the condition anyway. Body equipment as in S60, the front and rear bumpers leave much to be desired. Both front and rear bumpers sag regularly. The front one breaks the lower skirt at the same time. Fog lights are a consumable. It is better not to turn them on unnecessarily. Headlights themselves are rather strong, but even glass pre-restyling ones are inclined to rubbing and cracking, and wipers on them have a very small resource of a reducer. It sours easily and costs a lot. On restyling, headlights are already with a plastic cap, are prone to rubbing, but can be polished. But the lenses in them burn out quickly. If the headlights are still native, then for sure they will not shine. You need to change the lens or restore the reflector. A special trouble is locking motors. They fail easily and easily. The motor itself is pennies, but the work of disassembling the door and the motor itself costs money. And not everywhere the lock will be repaired, and used ones are in short supply. Power windows suffer from wear and tear of guide rollers and falling off front window seals. If there is a skew or jerks, it is better not to pull, and replace the rollers. Blago, they cost pennies, and the work is well mastered by specialized services. Detail original price of non-original 2 body parts. Front headlight 23 881 TYC 6 544 Polcar 9 517 front. Headlight Xenon 51 718 Polcar 67 390 windshield 26 892 Pilkington 15 153 KMK 9 877 front wing 31 564 Jesse Line 19 669 Blick 19 188. Front bumper 43 819 Blick 22 564 Lucid 15 540 Hood 53 804 not available. Interior, the quality of the trim is very good, and there are no particular problems with the durability of the seats and steering wheel. With care, it works fine for many hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Another thing is that mileage of cars nowadays is 300 plus or even 500 plus, and many of them have not been cared for normally for many years. And leather, and would require attention all the time. Of course, there are typical breakdowns like armrest locks, broken inner door handle cups, frayed volume knobs and power window unit. And the plastic of the center console scratches a little bit. The main pain is breakdowns of instrument panels. Their displays fail, switching of BC modes does not work, clock rushes, and repair is rather complicated. There are failures of the steering column lock module and failures of the ignition switch contact group and immobilizer antenna. Climatics is successful enough, though not everyone knows how to handle automatic climate. Besides, sometimes pulls of mixing flaps fail, but it is trifles. Air conditioner is conditionally eternal. If the car was not beaten, radiators are in place, tubes are not corroded, it will work. The most common cause of failure is breakage of wiring to the clutch or pressure sensors or leakage due to corrosion of tubes in the underhood space. Banal due to dirt on the engine compartment anthoshelves, and often due to through corrosion. Electrics, the most unpleasant problem is, of course, a flooded SEM unit. It was improved several times. The first variants were not airtight. Later variants are definitely more reliable. The chances of burning the car after rain or just not starting are much less. It wouldn't hurt to check the condition, but it's hard to do without disassembly and removal. Just turn everything on and check. It's also worth touching the wires and the carpet under the block to check for moisture. From less global troubles, the cars before restyling have not the most successful throttle valves from Magneti Marelli with failing position sensors. ABS block is also problematic. Most of all troubles with restyled blocks with ESP. And the electronic controller of the radiator fan brakes. And the resource of the fan itself is not enough. After 1,500,000 it is better to change brushes and bearings. All parts are quite specific design. It is difficult or impossible to find analogues. There are very few non-original electrics, Volvo, ordered exclusive parts, which are not found on other makes and models. Of course, all elements can be repaired, but the same throttle plates can be repaired with difficulty. It is necessary to saw the body. And it is possible to replace it with a normal Bosch one only together with the control unit and rewiring. The S80 owner will still need an electrician who knows these cars, because there are not many, but a lot of smaller failures. Up to 2005 on the electrics of the cars little by little improved, but to the ideal never brought. An economical owner would do well to have his own clone of dealer's Vita scanner and know how to handle it, so as not to go to service every few months. There is always work for a specialist. There are a lot of not very logical relays located outside the main blocks, but responsible. For powering the engine control units, there are problems with soldering of many electronics blocks, from the dashboard to the amplifier of the stereo. In general, the better the equipment, the more hassle. Intermediate summary: the quality of Volvo's bodywork is quite high, so there are chances to find a stainless car, but you need to keep an eye on the condition of the iron and constantly invest a little in anti-corrosion and local works. Still, the age of the cars is very solid. As for the electrics, you just need a specialized Volvo service. Those who work with these cars for more than a decade, as a rule, know all potential problems and their solutions by heart. In the next installment, we'll look at typical problems with chassis, engines, and transmissions. In conclusion, while the Volvo S80 I offers a blend of luxury and performance, potential buyers should be aware of the risks associated with dangerous cup rust and the complexities of its exotic electrical systems. Regular maintenance and thorough inspections are essential to ensure this vehicle remains a reliable choice. If you're considering this model, weigh the pros and cons carefully to make an informed decision. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more insights on automotive topics.